Hello everybody! Welcome to your next Mahjong lesson, probably the most important lesson, how to count points. You'll see a list of all the different points that I will be going over. The first set of points runs from 1, 2, and 3 points. The next set are all worth 5 points. All these guys here are worth 10 points. And the final set is all worth over 11 points. I'll also go over some miscellaneous items that you'll want to note. These items are all worth 1 point. If you are the dealer, or if you win off the dealer, it's 1 point. If you win the hand yourself, it's 1 point. If you have any flowers, they're each worth a point. Now, if you have your seat flower, then you add another point. Each wind that you pung is worth a point. If you gong a wind, that's an extra point. And if you have the wind of your seat, add yet another point. I don't have it listed here, but if you have the round wind, you also get another point. So the maximum points you can get if you pung a wind is 4. 1 for the round, 1 for your seat, 1 for having a wind, and 1 for gonging a wind. The next point is a fake tok tok. It looks like you're only calling 1 card, but if you move the cards around, it's actually 3 different cards that you can be calling. This is an example here. It looks like you're only calling the 6 initially, but when you move the cards around, you can call the 5, the 6, or the 8. If you're calling to win off of 2 pairs, that's worth a point. To win a hand, you have to have 5 sets of 3 and 1 pair, which I call eyes. If your eyes happen to be 2, 5, or 8, it's worth an extra point. If while you're picking up all your tiles, you end up with 4 flowers that run in sequence, but they're different colors, it's an automatic payment of 1 point from everybody. Any 4 of a kind is worth an extra point. It's called a gong. A gong is considered part of your inside hand. On to the 2-point hands. Tuk tuk cards are cards that are the only ones that you could win off of. For example, 1, 2, 3, the only way to finish that set is to get the 3. That's considered tuk tuk. Also a middle card. You can't eat anything else besides the 5. The only other 2-point hand is the dragons. Any dragon that you pung is worth 2 points. Now on to the 3-point hands. If your hand is all straights or all in sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just as long as they run together in 3s, it's worth 3 points. When you have the same sequence of runs, it's called a sister suit, and that's worth 3 points. Now on to the 5-point hands. If you have the same suit running across the same numbers, it could be 1, 2, 3, it could be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, just as long as the numbers are the same and the suit is the same, it's worth 5 points. When you have the same set of straights, it's called sisters. But when you have the same pungs, they're called brothers. When collecting your flowers, if you happen to have all 4 flowers in the same color, it's worth 5 automatic points. It's paid out automatically by the other 3 players to you. Most hands that you play, you'll have a little bit of everything. Some sticks, some numbers, some balls. If you're able to clear down your tiles to just 2 suits, it's worth 5 points. If you're also able to clear out the 1s and 9s, add another 5 points. If you happen to have no flowers, winds, or dragons in your hand, it's also worth 5 points. If your hand is completely hidden and you self-win, it's worth 5 points. That hand on the face of it is worth 4 points. 3 points for hidden and 1 point for self-win. But they bump you up from 4 to 5 for that hand. 2 concealed triplets in your closed hand is worth 5 points. When you utilize 4 of the same card in a run and a pung, it's worth 5 points. A mixed dragon is a sequence of numbers running 1 through 9 across different suits. The item third from the bottom lists 2 multiple winners of the same card. If 1 card is thrown out, but 2 different players can win on that card, it's called seonghyeong, which means that they both can win off of that card. The second item from the bottom is called tingpai, which means if you are ready to call, you can just put your stick on top of the tiles and you have decided this is the card that I'm calling, you can't change it. Once you've decided to ting pai, you are stuck with the card that you're calling. The final item on this list is called chase or follow the leader. One person throws out a card, the next person follows, person after that follows, and then the final person follows as well. You've completed the chase. The person that initiated the chase now has to pay everybody out immediately 5 points. Now on to the 10-point hands. You receive 10 points when you are able to win off of the first 10 tiles that have been discarded. The next one is if you win on the very last card that has been either picked up by you or discarded by another player. Now we have sisters that run across all 3 suits. That's worth 10 points. This 10-point hand is awarded when you are able to have no flowers, no winds, no dragons, and your hand is all straights. This hand is called 5 doors complete, and it's usually the hand that I look out for when I first open up to see if I can do. You have to have a set of balls, sticks, numbers, 1 dragon, and 1 wind. When you are completing your hand and you're showing everything except 1 card, it's called chun kao yan. Means you're relying on everybody else to complete your hand. When you still have 1 more card to go, it's worth an extra 10 points when you get down to the last one. When you're able to amass 3 hidden pongs inside your hand, it's worth 10 points. A complete dragon is having 1 through 9 of the same suit. The very last item on this 10-point list is a hand that consists all 1s and 9s. The 1s and 9s can be either ponged or in a run. Now on to the big monster hands. The first one is 13 orphans. 13 orphans requires you to have 1 of each wind, 1 of each dragon, 1 9 of the balls, the sticks, the numbers, and a set of 3. It doesn't matter whether it's a pong or a run, another set of 3. And then your pair of eyes is any one of those 13 individual cards. This hand is the highest you can get in Mahjong. It is worth 100 points and is the only hand that can steal a hidden gong. If somebody has a hidden gong, the person that is waiting for a card to finish their 13 orphans hand can ask what it is. If it's the card that they need, they can steal it. It's the only hand that can steal a hidden gong. The next 2 items at 90 points each is the Heavenly Mahjong and the Earthly Mahjong. Basically, if you are East and you open up and can finish, it's a Heavenly Mahjong, 90 points. If you are waiting for East to throw out their very first card and you can win, that's Earthly Mahjong, and they're both worth 90 points. If you're lucky enough to amass all honor tiles in your hand, that's also worth 90 points. Another 90-point hand is if you can pong all 4 of the winds. If you can only pong 3 of the winds and have the last pair as your eyes, the points go down to 70. And if you only can pong 3 winds, it then goes down to 30. Amassing 8 flowers gives you an auto win and 80 points. If you are able to get just 7, you can go for the 8, but 7 is also an auto win, and that's 30 points. So you can choose whether you want to try for the 8th flower or just take the auto win. Ponging all 3 of the dragons will guarantee you 70 points. That amount will drop down to 30 if you can only pong 2 of the dragons and the last one being your pair of eyes. A hand consisting of nothing but 1 suit is worth 70 points. To win a regular Mahjong hand, you have to have 5 sets of 3 plus a pair of eyes. For this next hand, it's called Liku, and you need to have 7 pairs, and then the last set is your set of 3. But to win this hand, you have to be able to compile everything and then be calling on the last card. You can't pong the 3 and then just compile pairs. You have to be able to get everything ready and then win on the last card. This is a pure suit, which is 70 points. The minute you mix up any winds or dragons with this suit, it becomes semi-pure, and it goes from 70 down to 30 points. An all pung hand is worth 30 points as well. When you pick up absolutely junk, it may look like junk, but you can possibly make a batap hand. Batap requires you to have one of each of the winds, one of each of the dragons, and your sets of 3 balls, sticks, and numbers. They can't make any type of run if you add a card to it. So if you look at the sample here, you see that if you pick up a card, you can't connect any of the cards together to make a run. This is what batap is. The true version of it requires you to have 1, 4, 7, 2, 5, 8, 3, 6, 9 across all 3 suits. Of course, my sample here is wrong. I have a 4 instead of a 5. The not true batap, just as long as the numbers don't connect, is good enough. It's not an easy hand to play, and the players that I usually play with don't go for this hand, but I enjoy it. Sitting at 20 points is if you pung all 3 of the same numbers across all 3 suits. Another 20-point hand is having 4 concealed triplets in your hand. Having the same 3 straights across the same suit is worth 15 points. If you can somehow make your hand only 1 point, it automatically jumps up to 15 points. Making a 1-point hand is not easy. You basically have to have a dragon or a wind as your pair of eyes. You can't have any runs of sisters that are the same. You can't have any flowers in excess of 1, or even have your own flower. You also can't eat off the dealer, and you can't self-win. All of those are extra points. Here's the list of the automatic payments and just some miscellaneous items. The first one is an automatic payment of 1 point per person if you get mixed color flower sequence. If you have the same colored flower sequence, you get an automatic 5 points from everybody. If you have a hidden gong, it's worth 5 points. Now, if you get the 5 points from everybody and don't reveal your sleep at the end of the game, you have to give those 5 points back, and then you actually lose 5 points. So you basically lose 10 points per person if you forget to reveal your sleep. Another 5-point payment is if you are able to follow the leader, or chase as we call it. An automatic 50-point loss is if you declare a false win, meaning that you reveal your hand thinking that you've won, but you actually didn't complete all the sets correctly. Each person gets 50 points. It's a big loss to do that. When you're calling to win, if you pick up your winning card and accidentally touch that winning card against the rest of your hand, it invalidates your hand. You cannot win. It's imperative that when you pick up your winning card, you do not touch that tile against the rest of your hand. Another invalid hand is when you have too many tiles or too few tiles to finish your hand. You'll be able to see that you have an invalid hand when you can't complete your sets. When you have an invalid hand, you can't pung or gong, you cannot take a run from the person feeding you, you just cannot win. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I'm sure it's a lot of information all at once, but this should help you make bigger hands once you understand what points are what. If you have any questions or would like a copy of the points sent to you, just send me a message below in the comments and I'll take care of that for you. See you in the next video.